Comes fish. There he is, got him. Ooh, big one. Let's see how this homemade, look at that. See how this thing holds up. That's a big fish. It's a big fish. There are many times when I am out ice fishing and I see other anglers out on the ice fishing with 5.5 foot, 6 foot rods or longer. And it puts them at an extreme disadvantage. You can't fight a fish as well, you can't detect a bite as well on those longer, stiffer rods. It's just heavier, and they have to hold them all day. It's a heavier rod, and it's just not really an effective way to ice fish. Now, I understand some of the issues with that. That is that a lot of times ice rods are not accessible, especially on the periphery of the ice belt. And additionally, some people just want to go ice fishing once or twice a year and don't want to make the extra added expense of buying an ice rod. But if you have a 3 or 4 piece fly rod sitting at home, an ultralite spinning setup, that's 2 piece, or even a travel ultralight spinning setup that you might use if you're out hiking in the mountains, then you can make an ice fishing rod at home pretty quickly and for very minimal expense, less than a dollar or two, with very common household items. So what you need to start with is the upper section of whatever rod you're going to use. This happens to be the upper section of a 5-weight fly rod that I had lying at home. You could use a spinning setup. Like I said, an ultralight spinning setup is ideal for this. You'll need a small spinning reel, or you can even use a fly reel that you can take the main fly line off of and spool with monofilament or braid for ice fishing. You're going to need a ballpoint pen, a small piece of insulation, pipe insulation, preferably fairly narrow, nothing more than 1.5 to 2 inches across. I look for a length of it about 2 to 3 times the width of a roll of duct tape. And then some electrical tape helps here, but you can also just use the duct tape in a pinch, but I prefer to use both in this scenario. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fit this pipe insulation over the base of this upper section of this fly rod to make a handle. So to do that, I'm going to pull off a few strips of this duct tape. Now make those strips approximately 6 to 8 inches in length. Okay, so after you've done that, you want to peel apart the pipe insulation. Sometimes they have a little bit of glue in there, but you want to split that open so now it opens up. You're going to put the base of the fly rod tip or spinning rod tip down inside there, and you're going to wrap this up on top. Now you're going to have a bit of a crease. You want that crease to be more towards the top than where you're going to attach the reel on the bottom. So make sure that you rotate that appropriately. And then I just try and squeeze this down the best that I can, where I can just see the tip of the base of the rod there. Just squeeze that down as tight as I can to minimize how much this will slip in there. Take that duct tape and roll it up on there. Okay, so there's the first section. Now I'm just going to do the other bit really fast, tucking as much of that in there to minimize the amount of a lip that there is. Again, I'm just going to roll this thing up inside there. Doesn't have to be pretty, just effective. Okay, so there I now have a handle on my rod. Now I'm going to take some of this electrical tape right here and cut off 2 strips that are about 8 to 10 inches in length. So something like that. You're going to want to have enough that you can wrap it around. So there's one. Here's the second. Okay. Now we're going to attach that spinning reel to the bottom of this, or you can attach a fly reel. So you want to make sure that this lines up pretty well with the guides, and you've got a nice area for your hand to grip. Once I have that figured out, I'm going to take my electrical tape. I'm going to wrap it around so that it holds that handle on there tight. And you could kind of stretch that electrical tape to make it hold up a little bit better. Hold that reel on there for you nicely. You don't want to lose the reel while you're fighting a fish. Okay, again. Now I'm going to do the upper side of the reel handle. Okay, here we go. Like I already have, this isn't going to slip off. I mean, this, you put that compression down there with that tape, and I now have a fly or an ice rod made out of a fly rod. It's pretty nifty, but as you can see, this is a little stiff, not the greatest. I am going to be able to detect bites, but it's not perfect, especially if I'm fishing for small panfish like bluegill or crappie. So I need something that's going to make this rod a little more sensitive, and that's where the ballpoint pen comes in. Unscrew your ballpoint pen and just throw away the lid. It's no good to you. Take out the inkwell. Attached to that inkwell is a little spring. That's what you're after. Now you're going to take that spring. One end of it is wider than the other end. On the wide end, there's 2 or 3 wraps of that spring. I'm going to grab those wraps of that wire, and I'm going to pull it out straight. Doesn't take much effort. It's kind of sharp though, you have to watch it. It'll make you bleed. Okay. So now I've straightened out the end of that spring, and I have that narrowing end out there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that down, try not to lose it because they like to roll away. So I'm going to grab a small piece of my electrical tape. Don't need much here. Just like an inch, inch and a half. Bleeding a little bit from that wire. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take and make a spring bobber with this. And what you can do, I'll put the rod down here, is I'm going to put that wire through the top guide, and then I'm going to tape over that wire on the rod tip and hold that spring bobber in place. Okay, so there we go. Now I have an ice rod for the secure base. It runs out to the spring bobber on the end. If you're at home, you can actually spray paint this little spring to give it a hot tip to make it easier to detect the bite. So I'm going to thread this up through here real quick, and then tie on a lure, and let's put this homemade ice fishing rod to the test. Alright, I've got my ice rod ready to go, made from the top section of fly rod. Got my spring bobber on there, so I can detect those soft bites. Let's get down there and see if we can catch some fish. Comes fish. There he is, got him. Woo, big one. Let's see how this homemade, look at that. See how this thing holds up. It's gonna be a good fish. Oh, he came off. No, he's still there, he's still there, he's still there. He was just swimming up at me. Just swimming up at me. Nice fish. Got me in some weeds down there. I gotta pull them out of the weeds. See if we can get him. It's tough when they get in those weeds. They can break you off. Alright, I got him. Got him clear. Could be another big fish. I was getting nervous. Not quite at the leader yet. Oh, definitely not the leader now. Okay. Hopefully getting this guy turned here. He's starting to tire out, I think. Maybe. Just gotta watch any ice build up in that spring bobber at the top there, and he's on that pen spring bobber. Woo! Yeah. Can't get him turned quite yet. Can see the leader now. Ooh, that's a big fish. It's a big fish. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Getting me tired. Oh, every time he sees the light of that hole, he makes a run. I don't want to crank the drag down too tight. Every time I get close to that leader, he just makes another good run. There he goes again. Oh, that run wasn't as strong as last time. Might be starting to win here. Am I? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Shorter and shorter runs each time. Come on, buddy. Beautiful fish. Really hope I can get this thing through the hole. absolutely gorgeous rainbow. Running out of juice though. Just gotta get it nosed up through here. If I can. Just keeps wanting to swim past. There we go. Wow. Gorgeous. Look at that rainbow caught on a homemade ice fishing rod. Look at that thing. Wow. That is gorgeous. Fantastic. Beautiful. A little tiny pink jig right at the top of the mouth. Look at that. Nice. Let's get her back in the water. Well, she's already in the water, but get her back down the hole. There she goes. Woo! That was awesome. That was awesome. And that homemade rod, it held up just fine. You can see the rod didn't slip in the handle at all. Thing's good to go. Spring bobbers, ready to go back to action. Great. So there you go. If you have a spinning rod or fly rod laying around the house, for just a couple bucks, you can build yourself a nice ice fishing rod with a spring bobber. Piece of cake.